How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether price is going up or down. Coinbase adopting international first mentality, says policy lead. We want to bring 1 billion people into crypto. We're all about economic freedom, Gordon said during Zebu Live 2023 conference in London. And so scaling internationally is kind of getting more and more important for us, particularly given where the US is. Last year, Coinbase unveiled its Go Broad, Go Deep strategy, registering as a cryptocurrency exchange and custodian wallet provider with the Bank of Spain and obtaining the major payment institution license from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Coinbase is also adopting this kind of international first mentality, said Gordon. So they're trying to go into more markets, especially since the US can't decide how they want to regulate markets, but other countries are. Rue plummets 9% as THORSWAP freezes operations amid potential illicit activity. The exchange has moved to maintenance mode after detecting a series of illicitly linked funds that has been funneled through the platform. THORSWAP will remain paused until it is able to implement a more durable and comprehensive solution to improve security. A pressing and persistent concern has recently come to light: the potential movement of illicit funds through THORChain and specifically THORSWAP, the exchange wrote. Such activities have no place on the THORSWAP platform, and THORSWAP stands firmly against any and all criminal actions. In a subsequent update, THORSWAP claimed that the functions such as LP actions, earn for savers, borrowing, lending, and staking actions continue to be fully accessible. At present, there's no specific timeline as to when the platform will return to full operations. ACT launched tokenized Blackrock ETF on Base Network. The tokenized protocol has effectively converted BlackRock's iShares Bond ETF UCITS, which tracks a blend of short-term US Treasury bills. The tokenized version takes the ticker BLBO1. We can tokenize anything held in a bank account, and we look forward to expanding our product offering, he said. Organizations benefit from not having to interface with TradFi or develop their own legal process by working with BACK for RWA tokenization. RWA is a real-world asset like equities, commodities, art, or collectibles. With interest rates high and crypto prices low, various decentralized finance protocols, namely Aave and Maker, have turned to RWAs to generate revenue for the protocols. Maker, for example, has already integrated US Treasuries to generate yield on its native stablecoin DAI. Over on the Dixie for the close for the week, we did come back down to our support area. If we break this area starting on Monday or Sunday, late Sunday night, we could see a bit of a breakdown. That breakdown could test the support and the Fibonacci support that we have. Our momentum has bearish divergences and is coming down as our VWAP has fallen into the bearish territory. Our money flow is starting to round away, and our stochastic is sharply falling out, bringing our RSI down. Over on the total for the daily, we did try to come back to our support and our resistance, both areas. We came up to resistance, came down to support, and we just kind of hung in here. RSI is trying to head up, stochastic's coming down, it does want to round up, momentum wants to come up, the VWAP and the money flow do want to break through, so if these lower time frames look a little bullish, the 4-hour looks pretty decent, 2-hour we're losing steam, the 1-hour we could break through again, so if this 1-hour weakens here, the 4-hour likely could weaken, and this daily may get a rejection, so I would keep that in mind. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we are trying to get a little bit of a peak to start our breakout. We'll have to see if this can confirm. RSI is heading up, stochastic's running up, momentum is pushing forward even though our VWAP's coming out. The momentum is starting to get a little bit of a round, and that will likely round off a little more solidly if this VWAP continues down. Money flow is testing that neutral and could break bearish if these lower time frames suggest so. 4-hour, we'd look decent. 2-hour, we're coming down, and the 1-hour VWAP is bearish, the money flow is coming down, so I would keep an eye on these. Over on our Bitcoin futures, our stochastic is trying to push forward, RSI wants to move forward, the momentum is starting to round away, Our VWAP is overall pushing toward that neutral and does want to break bearish. The money flow is pretty flat here, so if that VWAP falls into the bearish territory, our money flow could start to push under and we could see lower price action. The money flow is at a bit of a low spot where it really hasn't been too often, so we could see that end up filling and pushing us higher too, so keep that in mind. Over on Bitcoin, we are trying to hit our point control. We do want to break above it. We are getting a little bit of an early break out of this pattern that could try to bring us above toward the top of this golden pocket zone. This could be some sort of a cup and handle possibility. This could be a cup here, even though we didn't quite come to the same neckline, the wick almost did. And then this would be a handle, which could try to push us to the value area high. If we're able to break through that value area high, we would be able to see higher price action. And it would be pretty close to a retest of our previous trend as well, which we haven't really gotten too close to retesting. We kind of did here, but we did manage to push above that zone. So we could be coming up for a second retest and a possible break back into this descending or ascending channel. So if we zoom out here, this is the ascending channel we broke out of. We got one touch to the top here, one here. We didn't get a third one, so we only broke about halfway from this breakdown. There is a little bit more possibility to see lower price action as we do have those lower gaps on our futures, but just keep that in mind that we do have a higher gap here as well, and that does line up with the futures gap. We could possibly get sucked back in, try to fill that gapped area, and then possibly reject at that point. So our stochastic's trying to make a bullish cross. RSI wants to push forward. Momentum is going kind of flat here. Our VWAP does look like it wants to break through the neutral. It is trying to bounce off, so we'll have to see if tomorrow's candle can get a strong push through this point of control, and then we could resume bullish action from there. The money flow is in a bit of an uptrend, so it does want to push up, and it could try to push this neutral soon, especially if these lower time frames look bullish. The 4 hour, we did get a pretty strong wick, tried to get almost a full breakout of this pattern, so we may be short-lived for this current breakout. Stochastic is starting to round off, RSI is going flat, the momentum is pushing higher, but our VWAP's not quite getting much newer highs. We are hanging up at the 16 where we have rejected at this point before, and we got a little higher than 16 back here, but that did end up sliding a bit. Back here, we were at 16 and dropped, or above 16, so I would keep an eye with the VWAP being this high. But that's being said, the VWAP could come down, take a dip, and we could still move forward, kind of like back here, if the money flow maintains bullish strength. The money flow is in the bullish territory. It is starting to round out, so we do still have some bullish strength, but it does look like it's starting to wane. Stochastic has a bearish cross that does look like it could start to bring us down from here. We are starting to get a rounding top that could end up pushing us down, getting a retest of this pattern, at which point that would be where we would want to evaluate if we were going to be more bullish or bearish. If we come down and our money flow is deep in the bearish territory and VWAP's deep in the bearish territory, it's likely we could bounce off and those could cool off. But if they're breaking slightly in and starting some decent momentum, then we could push down even lower with some more steam. So you'll kind of have to evaluate as we come in. Real quick, if you haven't already, smash that like, hit the subscribe, and join us in that Discord link up above or down below in the description, right around the middle where we have a few links for you. Over on the hour, our money flow and VWAP are coming down on the 2 hour. We're coming down toward that neutral, so I would watch if we break bearish here. If the 1 hour starts to go weaker, we could fall, lose the strength, and see a flush to the downside. Over on the 1 hour, stochastic is starting to push off. RSI is starting to push away with a red dot. We have a red dot in momentum as our VWAP has fallen into the bearish territory. The money flow is starting to push out, so I would watch this money flow. If it continues to come down and our VWAP starts to make a bearish trend and just keeps getting lower lows and lower highs, then we could see a bit of a push to the downside. Over on graph for the daily, we are still within our pattern. Stochastic is pushing down, RSI is trying to come up, money flow is trying to bounce off neutral, and our VWAP is trying to push forward. So I would look for a continued move to the upside from here. Over on the 4 hour, you can see we have 1, 2, sort of 3, 4 touches to the top. We have 3 touches to the bottom, 4 touches right there. So once the daily gets as many touches, we have about 2 or 3. I wouldn't really call that a touch as we got wick. And then we have 3 touches to the bottom. So we could get a little short-term pump and then see a little bit of a fallout from there and break out. Generally, you get 3 or more touches. So 3 doesn't have to happen, but that could be where you start your breakout. You can start earlier too, but sometimes it's not quite as strong, like you'll see with Bitcoin. We broke out a little earlier after getting only 2 touches, and it's not pushing down quite as violently. Stochastic is starting to round off, RSI is starting to go flat, VWAP is pushing higher, our money flow is pretty flat, so the money flow doesn't know what kind of trend it wants to establish, and the momentum does want to push up. Over on the 2 hour, we have a reversal arrow, but we have a bearish engulfing candle that is trying to push us lower. This bearish engulfing candle is a pattern that can bring us lower and break this support, so I would keep an eye on the next few candles. This could be an inverted head and shoulder though, so I would watch for any possible break to the upside, but that green candle could be a failed push to the upside. Stochastic is starting to round out, RSI is starting to push down, momentum is starting to round away, and our VWAP is starting to push down as well. The money flow is heavy in the bearish territory, so we have more selling action than any buying action as our VWAP is starting to push down. That's our medium term, our medium trend. The momentum is starting to push down toward the bearish territory as it rounds away, and the money flow is in the bearish territory picking up strength. Over on the 1 hour for graph here, we are in a bit of an up channel still. We did gap down, so there is potential for us to jump up, fill that gap, and then potentially reject after that. Stochastic has bearish divergence and wants to push down. RSI is coming out as a result, so both these are losing strength together. Our momentum is pushing out with a red dot as our VWAP has fallen into the bearish territory. Our money flow is overall rejecting away from that neutral, so if it doesn't pick up some strength here, we could confirm a bearish trend and see lower price action. Over on Anchor for the daily, we did try to break our wick. Not sure where that blue line's from. Oh, that's from our lower time frame. We have that gap on that lower time frame. That's why that looks like a solid line. RSI is coming up. Stochastic does have a bullish cross, so that wants to push forward. Our VWAP is trying to push into the bullish territory, and our money flow is clinging to bullish strength. If that money flow can start to push up with that VWAP, we may get a push away from this bear flag, and we could try to push toward this value area low here. I believe that's, yeah. Sorry, that green looks a little dark on my screen right now. Over on the 4 hour, we have a green dot that wants to push us forward, so the next couple candles will be important. If they're green, we could push forward and break out of here. However, if they're red, we could invalidate this and see further downside. Stochastic is starting to round away and push out. RSI is starting to push down. Our money flow made a new high and it's starting to flatten out right around this 15, where we kind of got around this zone before and started to push away. Momentum is coming out as our VWAP is starting to push down. So if our VWAP breaks bearish, our momentum will get a red dot and we will see continued downside as our stochastic's breaking bearish, giving our RSI almost no strength. Over on the 2 hour, we are in a bit of a, might be able to call this a descending triangle. It could also be a bit of a wedge, depending on how you would want to draw it. Stochastic is coming out, momentum is rounding away. Our RSI is overall starting to lose some strength here, and our VWAP is heading toward that neutral and could break bearish. If this money flow breaks bearish, with that VWAP in the bearish territory, then we could see further downside. However, if that VWAP manages to break back up, we could get a bit of a push forward, and the money flow may be short-lived in the bearish territory. Over on the 1 hour, this is a little bit more looking like a descending triangle that could push us down toward around this 19.4 zone. That's not quite toward our gap zone, but that would be a start toward it. RSI is starting to round out, momentum's pushing down, stochastic's pushing out. Our money flow is pretty flat, we're not gaining very much strength, and we're kind of just sliding away here. Our VWAP is rejecting away from that neutral, so if that VWAP carries a new low, we may see the money flow start to fall to the bearish side, at which point we may see a break of this pattern. Over on XRP for the daily, we are pushing our point control here. We almost broke through it with a wick. Our stochastic is overall weakening, momentum is pushing out from a red dot, not very strong yet. Our VWAP is in the bearish territory, and our money flow has gone pretty flat. Our RSI does want to make a little bit of a rebound here, but with the stochastic starting to push out, that could be short-lived and it may start to bend away. Over on the 4 hour, you can see we kind of get a big pump, stair-step drop, big pump, so we could continue that trend. We may get a bit of a drop here, and then possibly a big pump, and then stair step down, and then another push. Or we could just get one more push, as we are within a bear flag, and that would be our third touch to the top. Our stochastic is trying to push up, RSI is starting to round away, our VWAP is starting to curl out a little bit, and our money flow can't manage to maintain any kind of a trend. If this money flow starts to push into the bearish territory and that VWAP starts to fall as well, we're likely going to see continued downside. The momentum is pushing up from a green dot as that VWAP's gaining, but that VWAP is rounding, so I would keep an eye on it. It could be short-lived and we may see a bit of a rejection. Over on the 2 hour, we have this green dot with the reversal. Last time we got that broke us down, so this may be our local top. Stochastic is starting to round away, RSI is starting to round away, our VWAP is starting to round away, the money flow is trying to test that neutral and wants to break bearish, and the momentum is likely going to start to lose some strength as that VWAP is starting to fall. So if the money flow pushes in the bearish territory and the VWAP continues to fall down and breaks bearish, we're likely going to get a pretty decent move to the downside from here. Over on the 1 hour, you can see we are starting to round. Stochastic does have a bearish cross. Our RSI is starting to head down, and our momentum is starting to push out with the red dot. That money flow is trying to break through that neutral with our VWAP. If that VWAP breaks through and this red dot gets confirmed, then we could see further price action to the downside, especially if the money flow follows it down. And that money flow would likely follow it down as our VWAP is curling and the momentum is losing strength, as well as the stochastic. So everything's pretty much losing strength. There's not much buying going on, so we have more selling than buying. That's what your money flow is. It's the money coming in or out of your asset. Over on Algo for the daily, we are trying to push off the value area low, but we are kind of rejecting this top of our bear flag here. So I would watch. This is somewhat starting to get be respected. We could move this up a little bit if you wanted, as we have more candle bodies at this zone than we do at that lower zone. But we also have a push back here, so it depends on how you want to draw it. Stochastic is pushing out. Our side does want to push up. We have bearish divergence on our momentum that's coming down. Our money flow is getting close to that neutral and could break to the bearish side. And our VWAP is trying to come up, but we look like we could get a little more push to the downside. So if that does happen, our VWAP would get a lower high, and our money flow could break to the bearish side. If that were to happen, we would see continued price action down. We could test the support zone right around here, and then if that breaks, we would see this flag play out. Over on the 4 hour, you can see we're kind of stalling. We did want to wick out, but we're not quite confirming. Stochastic does have a bullish divergence that wants to bring us up, but it's struggling to play out. RSI is starting to head down, even though our stochastic is pushing up, so that could be indicative of our stochastic starting to lose some strength. Our VWAP is starting to round away, and our momentum is pushing higher, so we do have strength with our momentum, but it's starting to lose some. That strength is losing strength because the VWAP is starting to curl. The money flow is in the bullish territory, but it's rounding toward the bearish territory. If that money flow continues toward the bearish territory, with that VWAP rounding off, we're likely going to round away from here and reject any kind of break to the upside. Over on the 2 hour, you see we have a bit of a tweezer top. If you're not familiar with what a tweezer top is, smash that like, join us in the Discord, and subscribe. We'll help you out. Money flow is hitting that bearish territory and wants to break. That VWAP is rounding away and getting close to that neutral as well, so if that breaks with this money flow being bearish, we're likely going to see a bit of a push to the downside. RSI is starting to push down and the momentum is starting to round away as well, so I would watch as we are seeing more bearish indicators than bullish. Over on the 1 hour, you have that tweezer top and a confirmation candle. So if we close this red candle, that would confirm a tweezer top on the 1 hour that could lead into the 2 hour. Our stochastic has bearish divergence and is starting to push away. RSI is starting to push away and the momentum is starting to push out with a red dot. A bearish divergence is when you get lower highs on one indicator while your price action is pushing up. Our money flow is starting to reject away toward that neutral as our VWAP is in the bearish territory, so if that VWAP continues down and the money flow breaks, we're likely going to see lower price action. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.